I am absolutely anal about keeping my implants clean and free of bacteria to preserve them, and I don't like bad breath and, food stuff. Most prosthodontists will tell people with implants to get a waterpik. So, doing the research, I decided to get one that supposedly had all the bells and whistles. This one had all the different brushes in it and paraphernalia, which, by the way, I've never used. And, trouble is with this one is it's big, it's bulky, it's terrible to travel with. But the fundamental principle of it is you turn it on, which is noisy as hell. That's low speed. And this is high speed. Guaranteed, I will admit, to get the bits and bits of food out between your gum and the posts that are actually in your mouth. This is one of the things that you need to decide when you're having your teeth done. Will I have gaps so that my gum, is above the posts, or will I have no gaps so that it's flush to, I don't know whether you can see that, so that it's kind of flush with the gum. Now, the problem with having no gap is that it's really, really important to get between the base, the top of your implant and your gum. So you can use a brush. I use these little brushes to get in between and to clean around the implant itself, like that. But if this is absolutely flush with the gum, then this won't go through. In order to be able to get your brush through, you actually have to have clearance. Now, there are a lot of prosthodontists that don't give you any clearance between the base of this and your actual gum line, because you're more likely to have more sensation. But then all the yuck gets stuck in there. There's nothing worse than having to jump up after a meal or even halfway through a meal because there's something tiny stuck in there and you get your thumping great waterpik out to get the food out. No, like anyone, we'd sort of like a toothpick or something that we can just gently get in there and clean it out. No clearance, no brush. While the waterpik gets any food that's between your implant and your gum, it will get it out. What it doesn't do is get rid of the plaque that builds up around the actual implant. And there can be quite a substantial amount of goo that gets stuck around these posts. So in this, you can have a little brush, all right, or you can use a floss. The only place where the teeth, when they're flush against the gum, has any gap at all, right, is right on the edge of the implant, right there, right, which means that you have to get this into this tiny, tiny gap, right, between the post and your gum, to be able to, and then be able to pull it through and take the floss side by side. So when you're older and your eyesight isn't that fabulous, you can spend a half an hour just trying to find the gap somewhere between here and here. And by the way, if you've got a platform, if you've got thick teeth, the floss doesn't go through because it generally gets jagged. So when you're deciding about gaps, whether to have gaps, a gap between your gum and the teeth, think about how easy it will be to get a little brush. I also use a hooked brush, so one that will hook and that kind of gets in, which is really, really good. And the floss, and of course a homemade toothpaste, which makes your mouth feel lovely and fresh, to clean your teeth. And be prepared to spend at least 10 minutes doing it, at least twice a day.